Cancer, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In this weekly video, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact your natal sun and what that means for your bottom line. All you need to know is your birth date. That's it. Everything else I'm going to translate for you. We're going to start out as broad as possible, and then I'll focus everything down into Cancer-specific energy. And then I will break everything down into the 3 decans of Cancer, so we'll know exactly how your natal sun is being impacted based on your birth date. This is for the week of September 8th through the 14th of 2023. Let's get into it, man. Big week for Cancerians. The moon is extremely active, and it's doing a lot of important things. And I say that they're important because it feels like healing to me. At the end of this week, especially the 11th through the 14th, we have contentious energy starting to grow. But I can tell you this right now, there's almost like a hopefulness to it. And we'll get into it. Let me explain. Generally speaking, in the beginning of this week, it's a very easy week. It's a very calm week. And it's not like calm before the storm. It's actually calm before the big release. Because on the 14th, we culminate in a new moon in Virgo. And it's very much aspected so beautifully. And new moons are times for a new beginning. And if you want to know specific manifestation techniques specific for earth moons, then check that video out. It's on Born Without Boundaries Tarot. I'll try to post it again. I usually post it to my TikTok account. I know I've already posted it already, but it's there. It may even be over here. This is the time to really let go of preconceived notions of who you are or what you think your limitations are, and realize that that's probably the biggest illusion. The beginning of this week, we start out with Mercury conjunct to the sun. Toward the middle of the week, that passes, but that energy is very much, it's just like an aha moment. Let me get back there. It's like an aha moment. It's like the moment when you realize that something was going on, that maybe it was right in front of you and you never saw it. And that's really what Mercury is allowing us to do when it's in retrograde, is review some stuff from a different perspective and then maybe really see the potential of it. We also have we also have Jupiter trine the sun all week long, including during the new moon. So that's very optimistic energy. There's this possibility to everything. And I would agree that it is, like, everything is possible. There is an optimism out there that is very helpful. Jupiter is also square to Venus all week long. That's decadent and indulgent, but it's also making us be aware of what pleases us and what our pleasure centers are. Venus is sextile to Mars. That's sexy energy. I don't know how else to say it. That's sexy energy. It's very, very virile and desirable and charged, and it could be a pretty intense week for those of you in relationships or those of you who are looking for them. This is a highly volatile and productively sexy week. We have Mercury also trine to the north node and sextile to the south node. This is about gathering information that can help equate us with what our future is and what our future responsibilities are and what we're going to need to do to get there. Almost like familiarizing yourself with the unfamiliar so it's not so intimidating for you anymore. We have Venus also more toward the end of the week, coming back into square with, let me just say, sir. Yeah, trine with Chiron. Venus trine Chiron is one of my favorite things because it's all about healing your own personal value. Those things that have really beat you up inside about the way other people feel about you, or whether or not you're ever going to be good enough, or primarily, do I look good? Am I pretty? Am I worth it? Do I have any value? Anything that has damaged you in any way, including physically, if something has damaged the way that you look, or especially the way that you feel about yourself, we're making harmony with that. There's an easement there and an understanding of why we had to go through the lessons that we had to go through in order to get a deeper appreciation for who we are. I love that. And I love that energy. It's very healing. Even with Venus square to Jupiter, this sense of, I like what I like. I am who I am. And by the end of this week, Venus will be in a very loose square to Uranus, which is staking your claim to something unique about who you are, your uniqueness and unique beauty. So I don't think we're being led up to a bad place when we get into the end of this week and we get more contentious energy. End of the week, we see the sun in a loose opposition to Neptune, which is a distorted sense of self. We also have Mercury in opposition to Saturn. So an oppressed voice. Bring up old wounds, trigger our defenses, make us face our fears, difficulty seeing or understanding our own truth. I think the biggest deception now is that we can't or that we shouldn't. Remember, this is all leading up to that beautiful new moon, and we've really got to talk about this, guys. Why? Because this is a new moon that is trine to Pluto, trine to Uranus. That is tremendous, tremendous, groundbreaking, ingenuitive change, and something beautifully new, us easing into it. Us easing into it like it's not new at all. It's also trine to Jupiter, which means this is all about broadening and expanding our understanding of what is good and what is right and what we're capable of. And then we have an opposition to Neptune, which can throw you off and distort you. But with all this other stuff going on, it almost feels like we're suddenly becoming aware that where have we been deceiving ourselves? Or we're able to look at our distractions in a different way and say, okay, this keeps distracting me, this keeps leading me, I keep getting bamboozled, but I want this. So clearly it's a desire. And if we can own our desires and say, okay, I wouldn't be distracted by it if I was going after it, if I somehow bring it into my reality, right? So that is wrangling that energy and taking charge of your mind again so that you're not super distracted, but instead you become super focused, distracting you from your truth. What have you accepted that you shouldn't have? This is a wonderful time to welcome in a new anything. Especially in Virgo, this sense of a new way of doing things. So let's get into Cancer specific energy. So what's going on in Cancer? Well, the only thing that's in Cancer this week is the moon, and it's in Cancer between the 8th and the 10th of September. And we'll go over the conjunction and everything else that's happening with your natal suns. But the moon is very active, so we got to dig into that. What's going on? So the moon is going to move between Cancer, beginning of Cancer to the end of Virgo this week. That's very nurturing energy. That's very lovely energy. It's very considerate and like planting, growing new things. You know, what's worth our attention and our energy? What do we really believe in? Believe is worth it. Maybe what we're nurturing and healing is ourselves. So we have, on the 8th, the moon is going to trine Saturn and sextile Mercury. That is a firm understanding or a real beautiful breakthrough of knowledge of talking to somebody important or having a conversation, like feeling really good, like you can hold your own in a conversation with somebody that you want to respect you. Then we have on the 9th, in opposition to Pluto, which is a tremendously impactful day where you will feel a lot and it will change things for you. It may even shift your perspective on a couple of things, but it is a very emotional day. On the 11th, this is a very precious day, and I've said this in all the videos. It is a beautiful day because the moon is going to be in Leo and it's going to be conjunct to Venus, which also makes it sextile to Mars, trine to Chiron, square to Jupiter, and square to Uranus. Can you say that there are going to be beautiful surprises that are coming to you that are going to literally deliver you forward? That is beautiful frickin' energy and very romantic. Then we have on the 13th, a conjunction to Mercury in opposition to Saturn. So we can really get a deep emotional comprehension, psychic understanding of what is holding us back, and in some ways be able to communicate without words. This is going to be very important that day. On the 14th is the beautiful new moon, and we've just reviewed that. This is a fantastic time to welcome in a new way to do things, maybe more effective and more efficient. Let's go on to the decans. So if you know that your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Cancer, it's in the first decan of Cancer, and you are Cancer 1s. This correlates to pretty much June Cancerians. Anyone that's born between, say, June 22nd and July 1st, you are Cancer 1s. So your natal suns are conjunct the moon on the 8th. Some of you really early in the morning, but this gives us a peace of mind about who we are. It means our emotions and it's like our own personal new moon. And it's a great time to really be on board with yourself, to refresh and renew, recalibrate, and to allow. We have on the 10th or through the 10th a sextile to Mercury. So in a couple of first days of this week, there's this beautiful enlightenment. Even though it's Mercury retrograde, there's a sense of opportunity coming through. Then we have in terms of what you know or what you've figured out. Through the 12th of this week, you have a square to Mars. That is not a good time to try to push forward or do anything new physically. This could make you super, especially on the 8th, this could make you super emotional, angry, and pop-offish, because it'll be your natal sun conjunct the moon square to Mars. And that could be especially angry energy, and you want to watch out for that. We also have a week-long semi-square to Jupiter, which means it's almost going to be irritating how much you want to move forward and push yourself and know more and develop. It's almost like you're driven to do it. And then we have a long-term trine to Saturn, which is all about career and really settling into your own sense of maturity, your own sense of who you are as an adult. And then we have the cusps. So if you're born around June 22nd, 23rd, maybe 24th, you guys are square to Neptune, which can be highly distracting already. But especially as the sun comes in opposition to Neptune later on this week, I can tell you right now, that's going to be illuminating in terms of what is distracting you and what are you dreaming of and why are you not fulfilled. It will point out where you're not fulfilled in your life, because where your mind wanders to is where you really want to be. And why aren't you on the pathway to get there? And that's the question you should ask yourself. And then we also have, and that's it. So I will say this, kind of a comeuppance kind of week, an awakening kind of week, and many opportunities to realize yourself if you can remain objective enough to not hate or judge who you are, but let these messages come to you to clarify things. Cancer 2s, if you know that your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Cancer, you're in the second, your natal sun is in the second decan of Cancer, so you are Cancer 2s. This correlates to birthdays between, say, the 2nd and the 11th of July. Your natal suns are going to be conjunct the moon on the 9th. This is pretty nice energy for you guys, I gotta say. Your natal suns are sextile to the sun. Through the 9th, so the first 2 days of this week, your natal suns are sextile to Mercury retrograde. So that means Mercury retrograde will not be impacting you negatively like it is everybody else. There actually could be some opportunities coming while reviewing information. We have a square to Mars by the 12th. So it's certainly, that could make you a little bit more pop-offish. It could make you a little bit more sensitive and defensive. It could also make you want to push when you shouldn't. So it's good to count to 10 at the end of this week before you take any action. And then we have a sextile to Jupiter. Sextile to Jupiter is optimism as well as good luck. And it may not have feel like it because we're in the middle of retrograde season. Jupiter's in retrograde. But now Venus is starting to move forward. So you might see some productivity when it comes to your finances or your romances, right? This is when things start moving for you on their own. You don't have to push them. And then we have a long-term trine to Chiron, especially if you're born between the 9th and 12th of July. This the trine to Chiron, square to Chiron it's a square to Chiron. It's about healing. It's just about healing. That's all it is. It's about, feeling like you're oppressed, feeling like you're never good enough, feeling like why is everything so difficult? But the universe is putting extra pressure on you to make you tough, to make you ready. And I'm telling you, they're not preparing you for something bad. They're preparing you for the grit you need to actually succeed. And that's just how it's going to be for the next year or so. This sextile to Mercury is primarily, let's put it this way, if you're born between the 9th and 12th of July, your natal suns are going to be sextile to Mercury all week long. So it's beautiful awakening and aha, especially all week long also because your natal suns are sextile to the sun. So there's this energy of like, oh, now I get it. Suddenly there's clarity. And that's really helpful energy. Especially with you, self-realization, self-understanding, like things you didn't see in the way that you needed to see them when you first looked at them. Let's go on to Cancer 3s. Cancer 3s, if you know that your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Cancer, it's in the third decan, so you're Cancer 3s. This correlates to birthdays between the 12th and the 22nd of July. So right up to the Leo cusp. And Leo cuspers, you'd be sort of July 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Your natal suns are conjunct the moon on the 9th. This gives you a sense of certainty of who you are and wholeness when you make decisions. You guys have had a long-term opposition to Pluto, which is game-changing and also pretty darn intimidating. It gives you that presence of kind of natural intimidation, whether or not you want it or not. We have your square to the north and south node, which means also your life is converting. It's like you're doing something you thought you'd never do. And you're interested in things you thought you'd never be interested in. And that's because your life is shifting. You're in another stage now. It's like a chapter closing and another one opening, or turning a corner. You also have a long-term sextile to Uranus, which means you are down with independence and individuality. And especially since that north node is in Aries, there's that sense of really self-actualization, realization, and letting yourself be more authentically you. We also have a trine to Neptune. Trine to Neptune and sextile to Uranus puts you right at ground zero, especially with Pluto. So there's a lot of shifting and changing, ingenuity and recreation going on in your life or in your capabilities right now. So this is quite transformative over the next couple of years. The new moon. The new moon is sextile to your natal suns. Especially if you're born toward the beginning of Cancer 3, which would be more like the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, around there of July. This is such a beautiful time for you to heal. It's such a beautiful time for you to start new, to get opportunities with people wanting to listen and being open to new ways of doing things. As well, just nurturing yourself. This is a very productive moon, not in its progress, but in its process and in its acceptance. And it's almost like a recalibration of faith. Like, yeah, everything's going to be all right. And it is. It absolutely is. Cancers, you let me know in the comments below how all this energy is impacting you. Please remember to like the video. And if you know somebody who you think would love it, please share it with them. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can grow here on Astrology Motivation. And then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card message. I love you guys. I'll see you in the videos. Bye.